So you're ready to pot your seedlings or plug plants. Thing is, if it's seedlings, just water them the day before you need to use them so that they're full of water. And then when you're actually taking your seedlings out of your seed tray, just prise them apart really carefully, preserving as much of the root as possible. Make sure you hold them by the leaf, not the stem, because if you hold the stem, you can damage it quite easily. If you hold it by the leaf and you damage the leaf, it will recover. If you hold it by the stem, it may not recover. So in the nurseries, you very rarely see any pricking out. We very rarely sow seeds directly into seed trays. All the seeds are sown into plug trays like this, so you can sow an individual plant or seed into each plug tray. These are quite big trays, but you can buy smaller trays online. So we have put a blog on just to show you how the advantages of using plug trays. So you may actually do your potting on from plug plants. Plug plants are available online and in the supermarkets. If you buy them online, the first thing you should do is unpack them as soon as they arrive. They've had a bit of a traumatic journey, so they've been taken out of a nice warm greenhouse, put in a very small space, and posted or couriered, and the temperature goes up and down. The humidity rises really high in the pack as well, and they've been in the dark, so they can't actually photosynthesize. So when you get them, they just need a day to recover. So the best thing is to open the pack, put them in a shady but warm spot, not a red hot greenhouse, because they're not used to it. So that just gives them a chance to recover before you pot them. Also, if you're the slightest bit unsure about them, take a photograph of them in the packaging, so that if they die later on, you've got some evidence for your mail order. Plug plants, when are they ready to pot? Well, really, the little root ball has to be strong enough to be able to get out of the tray. If it's not going to hold together when you get out of the tray, you can leave it a little bit longer. So when it comes out, it needs to hold all of the compost and the root together. That's a sure sign that that plug plant is ready to pot. So we'll just show you how to put a plug plant in a pot, but you could actually just do plug plants straight into trays. So this could be a bedding plant tray. This just happens to be a tray that we use for landscaping, so you don't need any pots. And this is marigolds, so they'll happily grow and flower in this tray and then be planted out on a planting scheme somewhere. So this is our plug plant, and we're going to put it in this pot. So we fill the pot to the top, little tap, just take any excess off. You should always hold your plug plants by the leaves, like we said when we said pricking out. If you hold it by the stem and you damage the stem, there's a good chance it'll die. If you hold it by that leaf and that leaf is damaged, there are 5 or 6 other leaves that will grow. And then this is quite useful. You just make a little hole about the same depth and put it in. And then all we do is just push the compost gently round the plug so that the plug is in contact with the soil. And then after that we'll water it gently and it will just settle. So I can see you thinking, why haven't you pressed it? Because on most of the television programs they'll tell you to really press the compost in. What we're trying to do is preserve the air that we have trapped in this compost. So this compost has got loads of air in it. If we press it really firmly in, all we're doing is losing the air that we spent a lot of money buying. So this plant, that's it. You don't need to press, squeeze, or do any more. Just one watering and it'll be happy. So how do I look after my little plug plants? The thing is, you need to grow them at the right temperature after you potted them. Too cold and they won't grow, and too warm they'll grow tall and spindly. Perhaps the best example is a tomato plant. So tomato plants, the base temperature is 7 degrees. If it's 7 degrees or lower, it just won't grow. At 7 degrees, it won't die, it just won't grow. They're really happy at 22 degrees, but somewhere in between is about right. So how do you know what temperature it is? We find that the best thing to do is get a digital thermometer that will give you a 24-hour average. So it'll take the average of the whole day. So you can have a cool morning, a warm day, and a cool night, and it'll average it out. And if that's above 7 degrees, your tomato will carry on growing. So we put a blog on the website about digital thermometers because they are really valuable with helping you grow. We use a 24-hour average most of the time. If you can record the 24-hour average, you can get a really good idea of what your plants are up to. So we have put a blog on about temperatures in greenhouses. So how do I look after my little plant? Thing is, we've watered it in once. That's usually enough to keep it going for a few days in really warm weather, or possibly even longer in cool weather. When the compost starts to dry out, you can water it again. The one thing we do know is that nearly all composts, after about 4 or 5 waterings, most of the fertiliser has washed out of the compost. The fertiliser in the compost when you buy it is soluble, so it dissolves in water. So 4 or 5 pretty good waterings, and most of the fertiliser has disappeared out of your compost. So after 3 or 4 waterings, you may want to start just feeding it gently, so maybe half the normal rate. And then as it grows, you should get in the habit of feeding it regularly. Plants that are fed regularly are always better than plants that are fed occasionally.